everyone, and welcome to Genre Flip. I'm Ben.
And I'm Erik.
And Genre Flip's a podcast where we take a movie of a clear genre, flip it around, see if it still works in another genre.
And this week we're taking the mystery crime movie Memento and turning it into a Adam Sandler comedy.
So I'm going to go ahead and dispel this thing before anyone has a comment about it. We're not trying to make 50 First Dates. I'm pretty sure that somebody is going to think like, hey, they already did a memory movie with Adam Sandler. But the difference here is that, I mean, what makes Memento the movie that it is that the movie, of course, is backwards. And, of course, that the main character is the person that has the issues with the memory. And the fact that their memory, like, they can't create new memories and they forget things within like 5 to 6 minutes, basically. So, right. Because what 50 First Dates is like she lives every day as if it's the same day that it was whenever she had the accident or whatever, right?
Right. And yeah. It's been a long time since I've seen 50 First Dates, and I forgot that movie was even a thing until partway through Memento. I was like, hold on. We're making this new an Adam Sandler movie, and there was already a Sandler movie with a short-term memory loss revolving around that kind of plot.
Basically, this is going to be a movie where, I don't know, since I know that you said you haven't seen 50 First Dates in a long time, it's basically 10 Second Tom as if he were in Memento. So,
right.
So I don't know. This is going to be pretty challenging because, of course, making a movie backwards is probably pretty difficult. But it should be pretty fun. I mean, some of the Adam Sandler jokes that we can use in this setting are going to be hilarious. So I'm pretty excited about it. But let's go ahead and start mapping out the Memento so we can kind of figure out exactly what elements we want to make sure that we carry over before we start making this Adam Sandler genre flip of Memento. Right. So let's the first thing that we should discuss definitely is just the character of who Leonard is.
So Leonard is a guy who's you don't really know what the time frame is between the incident that happened and current day, but you learn throughout the course of the movie that his wife was raped and murdered by somebody known only as John G., and his mission is to hunt down John G. and kill him and get revenge for his wife.
But of course, during the time of which his wife was raped and murdered, he was also smacked across the head, and it caused brain damage to the point where he cannot create any new memories. So it is very difficult for him to hunt down the man who murdered his wife, because the only thing that he can remember since his incident is the fact that he can't remember anything.
Right. So he's been leaving clues for himself in the form of tattoos on his body to tell him certain little tidbits of information that he will kind of go off of and condition himself to remember a certain amount about his everyday life. But other than that, he's kind of just...
photographs. I think that's what you were getting into. So
the
other type of clue, of course, that he leaves himself is photographs. He takes a lot of photographs and writes down what that was a photograph of so that he can keep those in his jacket pocket. He pulls out those photographs and then he sees exactly what was going on so he can catch himself back up into what he was doing 5 minutes earlier.
And of course, this isn't a perfect plan as well as it works sometimes because he's constantly being used by everyone around him. Oh, I was thinking that, last week we did Insidious as a film noir, and this film is very much a modern-day film noir where you've got a narrator with, voiceover overlaying his thoughts about everything that's going on. You've got a protagonist who's kind of forced into all these situations that are more often than not out of his control, and he's being strung along by other people.
Yeah, of course. So you've got the total detective story of him trying to figure out what's going on. And of course, the rape and murder of his wife and beating of him is it's a very freaking dark movie. I mean, the scene where he is smacked across the head and then lays on the ground and his eyes line up perfectly with his wife, who is stuck, being suffocated in this bag where the blood from his head is spilling out all over the floor. I'm like, Jesus, fuck, man. Oh my God.
And somehow, with the revelations that occur later in this movie, that becomes even darker because you learn that she survived. Spoilers. She survived.
Well, hold on.
That assault.
I mean, obviously this is spoilers, but the thing is, does she really? Because that is the thing. We don't know if if Teddy was lying to him or not. That's one of the things that is kind of speculated, is the fact that she may have survived. She also may not have. It's difficult to really believe anybody in this movie.
It's true. I don't know.
I like to
feel
believe that she
Leonard-
did survive and that he did end up murdering his own wife.
Such a happier ending, let me tell you.
Oh, well, I don't know. I mean, it's a bigger twist, I think, and so that makes it,
it is.
like a more of a like a holy shit kind of moment.
It seems like that's what happened, and the whole story of Sammy Jenkins that he tells is just him manipulating his own memory, and his memory kind of obscuring itself into a version that's better for him. Like something that he can reflect on and be like, oh, I didn't do that. It was somebody who I met who did that. So he doesn't have to like face, his own demons, his own.
Well, going back into the
he's...
character of Leonard, I mean, he was an insurance investigator, and so he can. It is pretty likely that story did actually happen. That he was investigating the story of someone named Sammy Jenkins, and it was something that he kept on thinking to himself was similar to the situation that he had. He may have been fake. I mean, it may have been a total fake thing, like Teddy says at the end of the movie, that Sammy was in fact faking, and he, and he proved him wrong.
As far as I know, it's left up for interpretation. There might be some sort of, interviews with Christopher Nolan where it might go into more detail about what Leonard's actual story was, but I feel like it's set up so that he's such an unreliable narrator because he himself can't remember what's true and what isn't, and what memories of his are fabricated or obscured to the point where he doesn't even know what the truth is. And that's a major theme of the movie, is like even the viewer doesn't know really what to believe.
So one of the things that I wanted to mention before we start taking some notes on the things that we want to make sure that we write down is that this movie is really good all the way up until the very end about keeping the time frame very consistent. Because, I mean, you can watch it and you can time it. I've seen this movie a bunch of times. It's somewhere between 5 and 7 minutes every single time that it jumps back further in the plot. So like every scene that because as this movie is taking place backwards, this you only get about 5-minute scenes, and then it goes back to show you how he got there every single time.
Right. And in between those, it's intercut with the black and white scenes that are actually taking place chronologically.
Right.
So it gets confusing.
Yeah, it really does. But let's go ahead and start taking some notes on what Adam Sandler's character needs to be. Of course, Adam Sandler needs to be Leonard.
Of course.
Adam Sandler is Leonard. He needs to be he can't create new memories.
Mm-hmm. We've got to have I'm thinking Kevin James as Teddy. He can have his Paul Blart mustache.
Perfect.
He'll he won't have to shave it off after filming Paul Blart 3. He'll be good to go.
Yeah, of course. Oh my God, Paul Blart 2 is the worst movie ever. If you have not seen it, just save yourself some time. It's so bad.
Yeah. Go watch Paul Blart 1. It is a masterpiece. Paul Blart 2, avoid it like the plague.
All right, so Kevin James is Teddy. Adam Sandler cannot create any new memories. Are we going to keep the plot to the same in that? Well, okay. Well, first, I mean, the movie has to be backwards.
Right. And I think that even though I'm sure the original Memento short story and script were, created in chronological order, and then they figured out how to make it backwards and make it compelling and reveal the twists in a backwards order, I feel like it'll be more entertaining if we try to come up with this story backwards as much as possible.
It's going to be so confusing. So,
absolutely.
But we'll figure it out. So, movie has to be backwards. And do we want to keep the elements the same, where it's like Adam Sandler's wife was murdered, and he's trying to find the killer alongside his buddy cop Kevin James, or are we changing that?
I mean, there have been people like in Adam Sandler movies that are murdered for comedic effect. I'm thinking about the O'Doyle family in Billy Madison. But,
oh yeah.
But I'm
O'Doyle
thinking
rules.
that I'm thinking that, well, number one, his wife in this movie should definitely not have been raped, and I'm thinking that probably she shouldn't have been murdered.
I mean, maybe she's like missing, and he's trying to track down where she has gone.
Right. It could be like he thinks his wife was kidnapped, essentially, or taken hostage. And then by the end, there's some twist where it's like, oh, she actually ran away from him, or they got divorced long ago and he just forgot about it.
Oh shit, man! Wow, what a great Adam Sandler movie. So there's got to be a like wife is gone. We'll
Right,
put that
yeah,
in
yeah.
there. All right,
That's
now let's
vague
get
enough.
into the other like main character of this movie, and of course by that I mean Carrie-Anne Moss's character, Natalie. Now is Natalie well, first of all, go ahead and describe Natalie to us.
Well, Natalie is a bartender who her boyfriend Jimmy worked as a drug dealer. And so she clearly is messing around with the wrong crowd. And then she realizes that Leonard has this condition that she can take advantage of. And she uses him to bully a guy named Dodd out of town, who
Right.
I assume was like another drug dealer who was competition in the area or something. It's not
Dude,
really.
that's actually like my favorite part of the entire movie is when
Oh, yeah.
Guy Pearce is hunting down Dodd and he like knocks on the door and waits for the guy to like look through the eye hole and then he kicks the door down. That is fucking hilarious, man.
Super funny. Although I think the one moment in this movie that's even funnier to me is when he is driving and Dodd comes up behind him in the truck and like pulls up next to him and just points the gun at Leonard, and Leonard, like, his only reaction is to look forward and just start driving. Like, no facial change whatsoever.
He like the guy like gets out of the car and like knocks on the window and Leonard's like, oh, a friend is getting my attention. I don't know, that's one of the, I mean, that's a testament to like Guy Pearce's acting ability. I think he did a fantastic job in this movie,
Oh, yeah.
just being like so unaware all the time.
Yeah, he does a great job with this character.
Oh God, this movie is fucking awesome. And so Natalie, I think, is a character that needs to play something like in our Adam Sandler movie. I don't think we necessarily need to have like the whole drug deal going down with Dodd or something like that. I mean, we can keep Dodd's character in there in some way, but of course, you know, Adam Sandler's movies are like goofy and silly and fun, you know, type thing. I mean, fun in the respect that they're kiddie kind of, you know.
Yeah.
But
The most
movie,
like,
of course, is fucking dark as shit, and we need to like lighten up the
Right.
tone a little bit here.
in an Adam Sandler movie, the biggest like act of revenge that one person has on another is like farting in their open mouth. I'm thinking a Click right now when he freezes time and David Hasselhoff is his boss and he's just farting right in his face.
And he beats the shit out of him.
That is some pure modern day Adam Sandler juvenile comedy.
Man,
So,
classic Adam Sandler.
Of course. And that will fit just square right into Memento. Like, you wouldn't even notice if that scene was right there in the center of Memento, so that'll work perfectly.
Yeah. All right, so Natalie, what should we keep about Natalie? The big thing, the reason why Natalie is even in the movie, ultimately, is the fact that she helps Leonard get the
track the license plate.
Track the license plate. Yeah.
Right.
So
In exchange
Natalie
for
needs
him
to be
dealing
a
with Dodd.
character that is like kind of a shady character that ends up helping Leonard.
Right. He wants to get information from her, and that's the only reason that she's around, really. I'm thinking that, okay, the only actress that I can think of who's been in multiple Adam Sandler movies off the top of my head is Drew Barrymore. And she was in 50 First Dates, but in this movie, she won't be the person with memory issues. So, whatever. She's been in like 12 Adam Sandler movies. So, she'll fit in here.
We'll think of her more as Julia Gulia than whatever her character's name was in 50 First Dates.
I don't remember.
Yeah.
The only thing I remember about 50 First Dates is Rob Schneider, and he makes some jokes about dolphins fucking or something. That's pretty much the only thing I remember. That and 10-Second Tom. My memory of that scene
Hi, I'm
might
Tom.
be... My memory of Rob Schneider watching dolphin fucking might be messed with in the same way that Leonard's memories are fucked up. So, who knows?
So, okay, is there any other like major plot points that we haven't discussed in Memento? Of course, being like, I mean, are we going to have the plot of this movie that takes place throughout a lot of it, like being like that we cut back to the phone call that's happening? Is that going to be something that we keep the same?
We could. He could be on the phone with. I mean, he's on the phone with Teddy there, isn't he?
Yeah. So anybody that doesn't remember or that doesn't know, basically what was happening in Memento is that this movie, for the most part, is backwards. Anything that's in color was backwards, and then anything that's in black and white was taking place in forward chronological order and was taking place further than the rest of the movie backwards. So like is actually like the beginning of the movie is chronologically is technically the black and white portions minus all of the stuff like the flashbacks. But this is this is the part of the movie that it takes a place a lot throughout the movie where we learn more about Leonard as a human, like the reason why he has the tattoos, and he's basically like explaining like to Teddy like who he is and why he is who he is over the phone, like throughout the course of this movie.
Yeah, that's all the major plot points I can think of. Let's go over the ending twist just a little bit more, so
Sure.
in case we want to incorporate any parts of that.
Okay.
Well, at the ending of this movie, which is chronologically the beginning of this main story of him hunting down John G and killing Teddy, is that he gets John G in the warehouse, the guy who's one of many John Gs, and this guy just happens to be a drug dealer, and Leonard kills him, and then the guy's got $200,000 in his car, which Leonard goes ahead and takes, and then decides to make Teddy the new John G. Because Teddy has just, explained Leonard's whole horrible backstory to him about how he killed his wife and whatnot.
Yeah.
Okay, I guess that's it. I was trying to think if there's anything from that we wanted to incorporate.
Well, basically, what we need to have happen is the ending scene that is actually the beginning scene needs to be like a big twist to what we actually find out at the end of the movie, which ultimately ends up being like the middle point. So,
Right.
I while you were talking about that, I actually came up with an idea that I think is going to work out perfectly for this genre.
Oh, okay.
What I'm thinking is that what if Adam Sandler is searching for his lost wife or whatever, but of course he had this accident where he can't remember, he can't create new memories, and
Right.
so it shows Kevin James and Adam Sandler at the very beginning of the movie finding his lost wife. And her being like, "Oh, Leonard, oh, I've missed you so much. I love you." And him being like, "I don't know who you are. Like, who are you? You are not my wife. I don't know who you are." And it like makes the audience feel like that he is like he doesn't remember things. He's got dementia, or he's got he has like memory loss. But it turns out that this is like a whole big twist because he actually finds his wife later on in the movie, and it turns later on in the movie, and it turns out his wife doesn't want to be with him anymore, and so Kevin James is out like trying to help Adam Sandler's character find a new person to become his wife.
Oh, so he's trying to like convince Adam Sandler that this new woman is his wife.
Right, and
was all
it's
along.
someone who's like desperate enough to want to be with a guy like Adam Sandler. And
So Kevin James is just like helping his friend by introducing him to random women and being like, "This is your wife, don't you remember?"
Yeah. What do you think?
I feel like Kevin James is now playing like reverse his character in Hitch. Maybe this could be like a sequel to Hitch, and Kevin James is now the new Hitch, and he's given a new client, and it's Adam Sandler, and he's trying to set up Adam Sandler with all these women, but Adam Sandler has a memory condition and thinks that each of these women could be his long lost wife.
Well, here's what I'm thinking. I'm thinking that, going back in time to the beginning of this movie, I'm thinking that Adam Sandler files a missing persons report, and he keeps on going in to the police station day after day after day after day, filing these missing persons reports because he can't remember that he's already done it before. And so Kevin James is the guy who, obviously is the person that has to follow up on them, and it shows a picture of his desk, and it's just a million pieces, stacks of paper, and all of them are Adam Sandler trying to find his lost wife.
The exact same form with the same written paragraph over and over and over.
Exactly. And so he feels bad for this guy who, has lost his memory, and he's trying to help him out. He grows to like him over time, being like, you know what, I think you're a good guy. I want to be able to help you find your wife, kind of thing, right?
Okay, yeah. So Kevin James is a detective, and he's not getting the kind of cases that he wants to be put on, or he's stuck doing desk work, and then he finds inspiration in this guy who's constantly looking for his lost wife, and he thinks, I want to help this guy. I want to help him track his wife down.
So is this a movie that is still taking place back in like the early 90s, or is this something that could take place today? Or like, what is the time period here?
I mean, if we want to incorporate Polaroid photos, it should probably be at that point. So do you want to do Polaroids? Okay.
Yeah. All right, so let me just review the notes that we've got so far. Adam Sandler is Leonard. He can't create new memories. Kevin James is Teddy. Movie has to be backwards. The wife is gone in some way. Natalie is a shady character that helps Leonard, played by Drew Barrymore. We have to utilize like an old rotary phone in some way.
Of course.
Polaroid photos as well as tattoos.
Okay, cool.
So the main plot of this movie we've kind of already figured out, in that the Adam Sandler's character had an accident in some way, which we'll have to flesh out. Right. He had an accident in some way, and he does not remember like the things that have happened after the accident, and he's trying to find his long lost wife. Okay,
I've got an idea for a stupid Adam Sandler movie accident that can happen.
All right.
So bear with me here. Adam Sandler is at a water park, and he's about to go on this huge slide that zooms all the way around and goes into the water, and he's planning on making the biggest cannonball ever. So
I'm just picturing Grown Ups.
Oh, fuck, I haven't seen Grown Ups. I do know there's that pool scene where their pee turns blue because of the trailers. But here's what I'm thinking, and here's what makes it different. There is a feral raccoon, unbeknownst to Adam Sandler, who is like, he saw that somebody up on the stairs of the water slide has like a piece of pizza, and this raccoon is eyeing that slice of pizza. He's like, holy shit, I need me some pepperoni right now. So he starts climbing the stairs, and he's like crawling between people, and then he jumps off the ledge after the person with the pizza on the slide. So the raccoon lands on the slide and kind of stumbles, but finds his footing and just kind of sits there in the middle of the water slide. Meanwhile, Adam Sandler is the next person in line, so he gets into position and barrels down the slide as fast as he can. And halfway down, he's preparing to like do his ultimate cannonball, so he's getting in position, but he sees a raccoon sitting there, and the raccoon gets big CGI eyes and goes, ah! And then Adam Sandler like flies off the slide trying to get out of the way of this raccoon, and he flies off the water slide. He's like 50 feet up in the air, and he goes, agoo! And then he flies down and does like 5 flips and just smacks his face right into the sidewalk.
All right, perfect, man. He falls off a water slide because of a raccoon. Yeah. So clearly, like, this is something that Adam Sandler is saying over and over and over again. And
always telling this story.
He's developed like a fear of water slides, and maybe that will play in a little bit later on.
So like every person he meets, he's like, so did I tell you about there was a water slide and there was a raccoon on it? And they're like, yeah, I know about the water slide raccoon story. You've told me this a million times.
Yeah, so he and Kevin James are like buddy. Kevin James being the cop that's helping him out. But of course, throughout the course of this movie, Kevin James has to learn more about Adam Sandler to get to the point where they are at the very beginning of the movie. And at the very end, of course, we're finding...
Right.
Because so it's going backwards.
There's got to be that sort of twist that Kevin James just doesn't know who Adam Sandler's wife is, and it turns out that she is. See, this is an Adam Sandler movie, so I'm thinking it's got to be something related to product placement or some big time celebrity, preferably both. So like, right. Who is a name that's associated with like commercials? Who's a famous actress who is like famously has been in commercials for a product?
Kristen Bell, Jamie Lee Curtis. We could do what's her name from Friends?
Jennifer Aniston?
Yeah, Jennifer Aniston is in commercials, isn't she?
Well, I mean, for the purposes of this movie, now that you say that, I remember that she's in Just Go With It with Adam Sandler. So I feel like she would agree to this role. So this is a
if
workable
she's in this movie,
concept
if she's someone who is like in commercials or whatever, it's a commercial for like hair or something.
Right. Well, I'm thinking this is an Adam Sandler movie, so it's got to be a commercial for something that's like not something that Jennifer Aniston would normally do, because they want to play it for comedic effect. You want to see Jennifer Aniston in a commercial and you think, oh, it's going to be fucking Maybelline or something like that, but it turns out
it's totally stool softeners, man. It's like it's a thing where she's got like violent diarrhea and she's just like, or like she is like super constipated, and the only way that she can go is with this type of stool softener. I don't know.
Like
I'm thinking. I mean, farts is like it goes right hand in hand with Adam Sandler.
Of course,
classic comedy.
This is true. So I'm guessing X-Lax, or that's like the only thing I can think of.
Yeah,
Imodium,
all right, X-Lax.
But that's
Boom.
Okay. Yeah. So Jennifer Aniston is in all these big commercials for X-Lax, and she used to be Adam Sandler Leonard's wife, but then they broke up after he got this condition. Because what did he do to drive her away? So he didn't kill her by giving her an insulin overdose. Instead, in this version, I don't know. What did he do?
He kept on buying X-Lax. No.
He kept on
Adam
putting
Sandler.
X-Lax. Like, she has all of this free X-Lax all around the house because she's been in all the product placements. She has X-Lax for life. So he just keeps putting it in her, like, morning coffee or something because she asked for it the day that he got the accident. So he is constantly putting X-Lax in all of her food, and she ends up having to divorce him and like file a restraining order because he will not stop giving her X-Lax.
And the reason why he's trying to hunt down his wife is because he's worried about how constipated that she is, and she needs to poop, or she will die.
This is part of the story that he explains to everybody. He's like, my wife needs to poop. I need to get to her now. And so, like, on the police reports that he's filing out every single day, he's like, I need to find my wife. She is missing. I love her, and she needs to poop bad. And Kevin James is like, so this guy, there's something wrong with him, but I mean, he thinks it's true, so I got to do my duty as a civil servant.
Well, Kevin James is like the ultimate noble guy in a lot of movies. I mean, he plays a noble guy in Paul Blart Mall Cop. He's a noble guy in there's other Here Comes the Boom, one of his classics. I don't know. I mean, he's the guy that he's just, he's trying to help people out,
Of course. He's all for being the cool guy, helping out others.
Right. So, all right, so here's what we have so far backwards. We have that the movie ends with Adam Sandler finding another woman who he thinks is his wife, but is not his wife. Or no, who he doesn't think is his wife, but that everyone is trying to say is his wife.
See, what I'm thinking is that in the end of this movie, he winds up with Natalie, Drew Barrymore's character. Okay. And he realizes that she loves him for who he is, even though he's got this condition. And he realizes that his wife, even though he kept giving her X-Lax, like, was also just like mean to him or something.
Yeah, but
it's
here's
got to
the
be
thing.
something
He
where you
can't
feel
create new
good
memories.
for him.
So how is he going to end up with Natalie if he cannot create any new memories? And his character's driving goal is the fact that he needs to, or maybe there's another accident. Maybe like throughout the course of this movie, he needs to go down another water slide. Because of something, and he falls off again, and not like basically like, do you remember the movie? Is it called The Cable Guy?
Yes.
Yeah, where
Jim
he
Carrey
gets punched in the face, and that causes like his weird dialect, or like the weird way that he talks to be fixed.
I don't. It's been a long time since I've seen that movie as well.
All right, so basically, Jim
vaguely
Carrey is
remember
fighting
that.
somebody. He gets punched in the face, and he's like, "You fixed me, thanks so much." And then he gets punched in the face again, and of course he goes back to the way he was. But I mean, maybe this is one of the things where either he goes back to the way he was and can't form new memories, but because of the way that he fell off the slide, he was able to remember a certain event. He was able to remember Natalie.
So by the end of the movie, maybe like he finally encounters his ex-wife Jennifer Aniston at some kind of X-Lax product demonstration show, or she's like filming a new commercial, and he butts in on the set and he's like, "Jennifer Aniston, I'm here to win you back," or whatever. And some horrible accident occurs, and like a light falls off from the ceiling and hits him right in the head, and he falls down on the ground. And then when he gets up, he remembers Natalie, and then like flashes back to all the things that she's done to help him out on this journey. And then he remembers how his ex-wife left him, and he hadn't remembered that before. And he's like, "Oh my God, sorry," and just leaves the set.
Oh shit! Yeah, that is a great ending. All right, let's work to figure out how we got here. All right, so it turns out that the beginning scene is different from Memento because it's not the ending scene. It is one of the scenes where Kevin James is trying to help him find his wife, and he thinks he finally found her because she looks similar to the picture that Adam Sandler had. But it turns out it's not actually his wife.
Here's what I'm thinking. Chronologically, it can be similar to Memento, except the very beginning scene is like the low point in the movie. Like, if this were in chronological order, this would be the scene where everything has gone to shit, and you think that things can't possibly look up for our character. And so from there, it plays out in reverse to the very beginning, but after that beginning, there is a shift, and we switch back to scenes that take place after what we saw at the very beginning. So it becomes chronological at that point, and we see the actual ending that is continuing off from what we saw at the beginning. This is difficult to explain without like a graph.
Yeah, this is so. Well, let's try to like describe this a little bit better. So the black and white portion of this movie, of course, is the part that is going in chronological order. I'm thinking that this part of the movie should be we should combine this with the flashbacks of the movie so that we can see the very first time that Adam Sandler goes into the police station and meets Kevin James and says, "Hi, I need to fill out a police report for a missing person."
Right.
And it shows him continuously doing this exact same scene, but Kevin James is the only difference in this constant scene that's in black and white, being like, "You came in here yesterday and you filled out the same thing." And then that's when we find out about how Adam Sandler says, "Oh, well, I have this condition. It was caused by," and then it shows the accident. And then, of course, while this is happening, it keeps on cutting back to Kevin James and Adam Sandler being together, looking for the wife. There has to be, I'm telling, like, this is a little off a rabbit trail, but there has to be a joke about like Kevin James or Adam Sandler being like, "Whoa, man, you farted." And then Kevin James is like, "Wasn't me, man. It was you," or whatever. And he was like, "Oh, sorry, I have this condition," or whatever. And then it goes back in time, and then it shows that it actually was Kevin James that farted, but Adam Sandler, couldn't
has
remember
been tricked into thinking it was him all along.
Yeah.
Okay. I thought of a better way to explain the order that I was talking about earlier.
Okay.
So throughout the movie, throughout most of this movie, you've got the black and white scenes that are in chronological order, but this is all taking place before like the main events of this movie, where Adam Sandler is first meeting Kevin James' character. But the main story that's in color, this is how I'm imagining it's ordered. So it starts out, I divide this movie into 10 segments. It starts at scene 7 and then goes 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. And then from there it picks up and goes 8, 9, 10.
Okay.
I just feel like if anybody was confused, that is an easier way to explain what I was thinking.
Right. So the movie is going to start out at the set, like the commercial set where he finds the wife and is like, "Come home to me, like you need to poop," or whatever.
Yeah, and she can like deny him and just be like, guards, get this man out of here. I have a restraining order. And so like from that point, you don't know if it actually was his wife or not until where we get to that scene 1 like 3/4 of the way through the movie, and it's revealed that she actually was married to him, and she had to divorce him because of the accident, and he kept giving her X-Lax over and over.
And then it cuts back to scene 8 where the accident happened, like another accident happens where that knocks him unconscious.
So like the very beginning,
he realizes, hey, I remember all of the things that I went through to get this. Not only did Kevin James help me out a lot, or Teddy, not only did Teddy help me out a lot, but Natalie also helped me, and now I need to track her down because she is clearly the person that loves me and the one that I need to be with.
Right. So the very beginning scene can be like close up on some studio door inside a set, and you hear some lady talking about X-Lax, and all of a sudden the door's thrown open and Adam Sandler runs into the studio and he's like, "Jennifer, I'm here to win you back." And she starts screaming at him and screaming for the guards to come and take him out. And we as an audience don't really know what's going on, and everybody thinks that he's crazy. And so the scene cuts away before we see him do something that causes the light to fall and hit him in the head. That will take place after. Later on.
Then it jumps back to the very first black and white scene where it shows him being like, I need to file a police report. My wife is missing. It shows a picture of Jennifer Aniston. And then it cuts back to another one where he's like, I need to file a police report. It's my wife is missing. And then it goes through the whole thing about him being, having forgotten. Then it cuts back to scene 6, which is what? The scene that happens right before he finds Jennifer Aniston.
He's got to get information from Natalie that tells him like exactly where she is at this moment.
Okay.
And it's got to be like Natalie was sitting at home and all of a sudden she sees a commercial for X-Lax and she recognizes the woman and is like, oh my God. And she calls Leonard to come over to her house, and Adam Sandler does. And she's like, I got to show you this thing. So she goes on her TiVo, another product placement, which is like,
well, it can't be TiVo if this
anymore.
Is taking place back in the 90s. I'm thinking that she recorded it on a VHS.
Oh, right. So she sees Jennifer Aniston on TV in an X-Lax commercial. And so we, the audience, we see her like, she's like, oh shit, and scrambles to her VCR and throws in a tape and starts recording. And we're like, why is she recording this X-Lax commercial? And then she calls Leonard and she's like, you got to get over here now. I've got something to show you. And he comes over.
And then clearly, since this is an Adam Sandler movie, like after it finishes playing the commercial, it has to be like the most embarrassing thing that it goes right into from the VHS tape.
He sees like some like Animal Planet video and it's like 2 elephants fucking and he's like, oh my God, is this what you watch in your own time? And she's like, no, it kept recording after I fell asleep. And he's like, I don't believe you. Prime Adam Sandler material.
So then it's I guess it'll go back another scene from there.
We get a black and white scene, and this can be the black and white scene where he goes in to see Kevin James again, and Kevin James is like, haven't you been in here before? And you filed this exact same thing yesterday. And then he like starts to go into the story, but we don't see what happens at the accident. He basically just says like, it all started when I went to the water park. And then it fades back into scene 5, which is
right. Which, dude, it has to be at a water park. I'm thinking that this has to be like the scene where, like things like there needs to be something that is like information related to the finding of his wife at the water park, because that way when Adam Sandler's like, it all started when I went to the water park, and instead of showing the black and white scene of him actually having the accident, it needs to show him frantically running through the water park, trying to do something,
because he's got like a Polaroid and he can see, maybe he's got like a Polaroid of the water park itself, because like he's visited this area many times before, just like thinking it'll give him some clue or trigger a memory. So he took a Polaroid and he feels like he can see his wife in the background of this Polaroid. And he feels this urge to go to the water park. So we don't know exactly what's going on. He's running through this water park. It's super crowded. There's all these people going around. He's going around screaming like, Jennifer, Jennifer. We haven't come up with a name for her. Her name's just, she's playing herself. It's his product placement. He sees somebody who he thinks is Jennifer, and then he goes and he taps on her shoulder, and it turns around, and it's just David Spade with long hair. And he's like, hey, honey. And it's him playing his character from Jack and Jill. And Adam Sandler is like, "Agoo," and runs away in his Adam Sandler-y fashion.
Right, and then he gets a phone call, and he
From Natalie.
yeah, from Natalie, and she's like,
she's
"You
like,
gotta
"You've
get
gotta
over
come
here
over."
right now. I've got something that you just gotta see." And so then he gets into his car and drives.
And
drives
there's
over
got to
see
be,
her.
when he's there in the water park, he's got to be walking around looking for clues, and he sees the water slide, and he gets like a faint memory of that, the recollection of the accident. And at this point in time, the audience doesn't know what the accident was, but the camera's just slowly zooming in on the water slide, and you hear the sounds of like a raccoon screaming in the background.
Dude, what if it's similar to Happy Gilmore and you remember the alligator in Happy
Oh,
Gilmore
yeah,
and how that
yeah.
was a recurring character? What if the raccoon was similar and how Adam Sandler is just like terrified of this raccoon and how he keeps on like remembering the raccoon, and like each time that he remembers the raccoon it gets like worse and worse. And so when he sees the raccoon at this water park again, he has like some huge freak out moment.
Oh, here's what I'm thinking. We haven't talked about his tattoos yet, but I want
Yeah.
him to have like a full torso tattoo of a screaming raccoon. So like when he wakes up in the morning, he doesn't remember anything about his life really, but then he like looks in the mirror and sees the screaming raccoon on his chest and screams.
And,
And then
well,
he's
yeah,
like, "Oh,
and
yeah, I
then
remember."
and then that has to send him into a flashback of remembering exactly what happened. The reason why he got the tattoo is so that it would make him remember the thing that the accident that happened.
So that's why it's constantly super fresh in his memory, because it was such a traumatic event. He remembers it, especially because of this massive tattoo he's got on him.
So
do we want
of
to
course,
elaborate? Do we want to have any other tattoos on him?
let's discuss the other tattoos as we go further throughout the movie.
Okay.
But the giant tattoo of the raccoon on his chest is hilarious.
Okay,
So
cool.
of course that scene ends with him, picking up the phone and talking to Natalie and her saying that he needs to get over to her right now. How does that scene begin? Is it him walking into the water park?
I guess so. It could be like his car pulling up to the water park, so that it could be like, what if he just got out of a car chase and he like all of a sudden sees the water park and just pulls into the water park, and that's where it continues. But right before this scene, he was in some kind of crazy car chase for whatever reason, which can be detailed now. I'm trying to think of a reason for him to have been in a car chase.
Yeah, and the reason why he pulls in there is like, he forgets that he's in the car chase and he sees the water park. And so he pulls in there, pulls out the Polaroid of him having used, like, that he took, while he was, with his wife at the, like, maybe the reason why he was at the water park, maybe this is like a way that they were celebrating their anniversary or something like that, 2 years into marriage or something. And they loved going to the water park together. And so she like gets up to the top of the slide and wanted him to take a picture of her up there. And so he takes a picture, and then he still has that picture. And so he keeps on to this day, every time he looks at that picture, thinks that she is at the water park. So when he's at this,
Right, or he thinks that it's still his anniversary and he needs to go meet her at the water park.
right, because she needs to poop. And
Right.
he doesn't want for her to go in the pool because it's going to cause all the blue dye, and because this movie is connected to grown-ups.
Of course, it's part of the Sandler verse.
Yeah. So, all right.
Oh,
So he's in a car.
Anybody
Okay.
listening to this, I want to plug that video that go on YouTube and search Sandler verse, and it's this guy who's connected every single Adam Sandler movie together and proves that they all share a connected universe. It's great.
Yeah, it's that you're at the right video if the guy has like wild hair and a giant beard,
And is screaming about Adam Sandler.
yeah. So this is a hilarious video, and it clearly took this guy a long time to be able to put together all of this stuff.
Oh yeah,
So,
he had to watch all those movies probably multiple times.
Oh yeah, so you have to go and watch this this video. It's really funny. If you have any sort of liking or disliking for Adam Sandler, actually, no matter how you feel about Adam Sandler, this is hilarious, and you got to watch it.
It's great. Anyway,
So back to the car
the
chase.
Memento.
Why is he in a car chase at this point?
So
and we
here's-
still have not utilized Teddy like almost at all in
That,
the
yeah. That's where I'm
portion of the
going
movie.
here. I think that because Teddy is a cop, he's a detective, and he desperately wants to prove himself, and basically he's helping Leonard because he doesn't have any actual cases that he's being put on. But while he's out with Leonard, he's like driving around with him, and he realizes that there's an active call out, and it's for a position that he's very close to. So he asks Leonard, like, hey, I know I'm helping you, but I really want to prove myself here. I really want to prove that I can stop crime. I can go and solve these cases. And Leonard's like, oh, I mean, okay, do what you got to do, man. You're driving. So Kevin James
Well, wait.
goes.
Here's what I'm thinking. Actually, I'm thinking that Adam Sandler is driving because if the last scene that we talked about is Adam
Right.
Sandler pulling up into his car, maybe Adam Sandler is driving around Kevin James, and then he realizes that there's something. There's like some sort of criminal on the loose
Right.
or something like that, and he gets Adam
Here's-
Sandler to chase after the guy, and
Here-
then
oh.
maybe the guy crashes the car. Kevin James gets out to chase him down, and then that's when Adam Sandler sees the water park and he drives into there.
Yeah, Adam Sandler sees the water park. He just forgets all about what was happening before and just drives off in Teddy's police cruiser into the water park. So, like, when we pick up later on at the very end of the movie, when Leonard gets hit by the light and he regains his memory and realizes that Natalie is really the one for him, Kevin James can show up and be like, what the hell, man? You took my car. and then the audience is like, oh yeah, ha ha ha, and they remember that moment too. And so that can also be like a funny little moment when he drives into the water park in a cop car and you're like, how did he get here? Why is he in a cop car? But it
Yeah.
explains it. Yeah, so Adam Sandler is driving this police cruiser and Kevin James is there with him for some reason, allowing him to drive the police cruiser. And so what are they doing initially? They're looking for a clue somewhere.
Or maybe he's not driving. Maybe he's in the passenger seat, and then Kevin James pulls over and gets out of the car to go chase down
Right.
the bad guy.
And then he
and
takes
then he
over.
sees the water park, gets out, gets into the driver's seat, and drives off.
Okay, yeah, that's a little bit better. So
Yeah.
he can be in the passenger seat trying to help out with the car chase while that's going on.
Yeah.
Yeah, so they're in the car, they're on their way to go search for some clue or something like that. And all of a sudden on the police radio, there's the call for, like, there's an active robbery at a bank in downtown at the corner of blank and blank. And Kevin James is like, holy shit, I'm very close. Let's go do that. So by the time they get there, the getaway driver is already, like, peeling off and he's screeching down some back alley. And Kevin James is like, oh shit, we got to go. And Adam Sandler's screaming like, go get him, come on. And they start driving and, squealing tires as they round the corner of the alleyway and they start zooming down. And how does a car chase in an Adam Sandler movie go? What kind of
I'm
jokes can we
thinking,
throw in here?
Similarly to Paul Blart Mall Cop with the Segway chase scenes.
Mm-hmm.
I'm picturing like a lot of like just zooming in on Kevin James' face with his mustache as he's like gripping the wheel. And I mean, what's something silly that can happen in a car chase?
I'm thinking about car chase tropes. I'm thinking about like lots of trash cans and stuff that they run into, like lamp posts. There's like two dudes walking.
They have to
with a
run
sheet of
into a
glass.
trash can, and then some trash flies out and lands smack on the windshield. Maybe it's like a one of those like porno magazines. Like for whatever reason, somebody threw that away, and they hit the car, and so it lands like smack dab right in the center of the windshield that Kevin James and Adam Sandler are riding in, and it's like one of those like full body like pages that's like right across. Obviously, like not completely naked because this is an Adam Sandler movie, but like a bikini shot or whatever, and then it's got to go like or something like that or whatever. That's definitely something that would happen in a Sandler movie.
Yeah, I think so. And that would be really funny. I was thinking if Adam Sandler's character was driving, what if it was like a centerfold and it was just a screaming raccoon and he was like, "Ah!" And then they like turn on the windshield wipers and it like moves the magazine up and out of the way. And as soon as the magazine moves out of the way, they see that there's something ahead of them that they're about to crash through. Or there's like a woman with a stroller and there's a baby in the stroller and it has Adam Sandler's face. And he's like, a goo. And then they hit the stroller and the baby goes flying. And there's like a stroller store across the street and it just lands in another stroller perfectly fine.
All right, and then and that's when they see that the criminal had crashed into like a fire hydrant or something like that. And Kevin James gets out, takes off after the guy. He sees the
chase.
water. It reminds him of the water park, and that's why he drives there.
Right. So like, yeah. Kevin James gets out of the car. He's like, wait here, don't get out. And then he leaves and goes on a foot chase. And then Adam Sandler sees the water park, gets out of the car, gets back in and drives off. And then Kevin James, like having lost the perp, like, or no, he's still chasing the perp and he goes like around a building and comes back out to the main street. And then he like stops for a split second because he sees his own car driving off. And he's like, Leonard, oh my God. And then it cuts into another black and white flashback where Adam Sandler as Leonard starts telling the story of how the water park incident went down.
Yeah. And now it really shows the like how the raccoon played into everything. So like the couple of times that we've seen the raccoon previously in the shots that people were like, what the fuck is this giant raccoon like freaking him out for? Now it all becomes clear because the raccoon is the thing that caused the accident. Like
the
at the water park
saw
where he
before, yeah,
right, him flying off the water slide. So that gets revealed, and as he's telling Teddy that, and so Teddy, feeling bad about the accident, about what happened, he doesn't have any cases of his own, and he wants to prove himself. So he decides, I'm going to help you, Leonard. I'm going to help you find your lost wife. And so now we jump back to the thing that they were doing before the police chase happens here, and that, of course, being I don't know, something related to finding the wife. Let's see. I'm thinking.
So they know that she, like, the only memories he really has is that she was like an actress, and so Kevin James, thinking that Leonard wouldn't be married to some high-profile actress like the woman who was on one of the biggest sitcoms of all time, Jennifer Aniston. He's not thinking of an actress like that. He's thinking like it's a local actress who's been in like a lot of small time stuff. Maybe she's like an extra. She could be registered at a local talent agency. So like, I don't know. I'm feeling like the photos that he does have, like the few Polaroids, have like an obscured face. She's wearing big sunglasses or something. So they're going around to minor talent agencies because they're in LA and they're like, hey, we've got like a few Polaroids. We were wondering if there's a woman who
fits this profile.
Yeah, who you have as one of your talents who looks like this woman. And they're like, listen, we've got like 1,000 women who look similar to that. They've got like the blonde, brown hair, they look similar to Jennifer Aniston.
Right. But Teddy's a cop, so he's got to be like, look, you got to do this. He pulls out his badge or whatever, and he's just like, we need to take a look at your files or something like that.
And they're like, okay. And then they go back, and then they find this embarrassing file of Kevin James from when he was like trying to be an actor before he became a cop. And there's like a really embarrassing headshot of him when he was like 27, and he's got like a mohawk. And Leonard is like, "Oh my God, this is you!" And Kevin James is like, "No, shut up! Don't look at it." And then Adam Sandler takes a Polaroid picture of young Kevin James. And so he can have that earlier in the movie, and we'll see that and be like, when did he get that?
Yeah. And it shows like each time that the movie that each scene starts, it has to be similar to the way it was in Memento, where he's just like, okay, what am I doing here? And then he pulls out his Polaroids, like all of the ones that he has, and then like the ones that he looks at, of course, are the ones that are related to the place that he's ultimately going to go and the things that have accomplished in the plot chronologically, even though things haven't happened yet. So of course he sees one of the Polaroids of of Kevin James as like with the mohawk or whatever, and he's like, ugh, or whatever, and he like he pushes that one away and he goes to the next one. Right. And that's how they got the Polaroid of Kevin James, of course, was at this scene right here. So I'm thinking that they need to find something in this database of a woman that looks similar to the woman that he is married to,
right. But it turns out she's like, it turns out she's like a Jennifer Aniston impersonator. And so she plays her at like birthday parties or something for anybody who wants to hire impersonators.
Yeah. Well, but the thing is, this clue is not going to go anywhere because if this is scene like 4 or 5, no,
Right.
this is scene 4 right now. If they find somebody, this is not going to. They're not going to find this person because ultimately what's going to happen is, they're going to go on this police chase. He's going to forget all about it. They're going to get to the water park and then they're going to get to the actual wife.
Right. So it's got to be
there.
something. It's got to be a clue that leads them somewhere where they can realize it's a dead end, and then that's where it picks up with the next portion, where the police radio interrupts them as soon as they've discovered it's a dead end. I mean, it could be a clue where like it looks like it's a woman who's very similar, and they go to her apartment and check it out. And it's clear that this is it's an Adam Sandler movie, so it's got to be like a very weird person. It's got to be like some elderly woman who just has like dyed brown hair, and she's like a total sex pervert, and she's trying to get both of them in bed, and they're like, "Oh no, we don't want to." In an Adam Sandler
and it
way.
turns out that woman is the one that was in the photo, and that was just it's like the typical Tinder type thing where it's just like, that's not the real picture of what you actually look like or whatever kind of thing. And so she used that as her headshot. A photo that looks similar to Adam Sandler's ex-wife, but it was actually a photo from years ago.
Right, it's a photo from decades ago. And she's like, well, I'm not going to get cast if they know I'm a 75-year-old woman. And I figure in an Adam Sandler movie, it feels appropriate to have like a 75-year-old woman making obvious advances on somewhat younger men. I feel like it would make more sense if this took place in the 90s when Adam Sandler was like 30, around when like Billy Madison age.
Yeah.
Because now he's like, how old is Adam Sandler? Like 50, 60 something?
No, he's not in his 60s. He's probably late 40s, early 50s, something like that. Oh, let's look. I mean, that's what the internet's for. How old?
Yeah, now that I think about it, he's definitely not in his 60s.
He's 51.
50, yeah, 50, okay.
Yeah. So,
Sorry, Adam Sandler.
So that's a dead end, and that's when Teddy gets a call on his radio about the bank robbery, and that's when he decides to go chase that guy down.
Right.
So of course this leads us to the scene that happens previous to this, which is it has to deal with Natalie, and she's probably the person that tells him that he needs to go and check this talent agency. She's the only one. She's the person that is like helping him out a lot, giving him the great ideas, but also dropping hints that she like is in love with him, and I don't know, maybe she's like a neighbor of his or something. Maybe she's somebody that he has known for a long time, that he's never thought about her in a romantic way before, because of him being married, and he's still clearly in love with his wife because he was in love with his wife before the accident, and so he can't progress.
After Jennifer Aniston left him, he went and he started renting an apartment out of some random place in LA. And his next door neighbor was Natalie, who like becomes friends with him, but of course he doesn't really remember her at all. But she's still like, will take the opportunity to interact with him if she sees him out in the hallway or something. And so they have like all of this small talk, but he never remembers her. And it's
always the exact same conversation. He's always like, hey, I have this condition. Raccoon came and knocked me off the water slide. And she's just like, oh, I remember, Leonard.
Right.
Or something.
And so like they've been next door neighbors for like a year or two now, or however long it's been. And so she's actually gotten to know him really, really well. He just can't remember all of the things that he's learned about her. But we know that she is, had feelings for him for a while now, the more that she's gotten to know him. And she knows that he'll never be able to really reciprocate that. So she just, resigns herself to being his neighbor, even though we know that she wants something more.
Right. And so in this previous scene, she is the one that tells him about the talent agency and how she should go there. Teddy happens to arrive, being like, hey, got any leads for me about like where your missing wife might be? And like, it's just like a convenient thing. He's just like, oh yeah, Natalie just gave me a great idea. We should go check this out. And since Teddy's a good friend, he's like, sure, we can take my police cruiser. Let's head on down to the talent agency.
Yeah, sure. I'm out getting some donuts right now. It's Kevin James as a cop, so there's got to be like cop donut jokes. There's got to be a lot of those.
And there's got to be. I mean, we have not made enough like farting jokes. I know that like the main crux of this movie is the fact that Jennifer Aniston is an X-Lax commercial star. But there needs to be more, man. There is never too many fart jokes for an Adam Sandler movie.
Well, let's say what's a fart joke that could happen during the car chase?
Let's see here.
Okay.
Oh,
so
maybe when they crash into something that causes Kevin James to fart, and whenever
Yeah.
they crash into something, that's what causes him to forget. And he's like, "Whoa, like, dude, you farted." He's like, "No, man, it was you."
Kevin James, one of the core elements of his character is that whenever he gets scared, he farts. So, and so because he's a cop, he's like he wants to be able to put himself in these dangerous scenarios, but he's always like holding himself back because he knows if something scares him or if he gets in some tricky situation, he's just gonna keep farting.
Right.
And he doesn't want that.
But the thing is, he always is convincing Adam Sandler that he is the one farting, not Leonard or not Teddy. So, yeah.
So he's
let me
always
take a look
farting,
back at-
and then whenever Leonard's memory, flips, and he's like, "What's going on? Who farted?" And Teddy's like, "You farted. You don't remember, man? What the hell? You keep farting."
Okay. And so at the beginning of that last scene with Natalie, he needs to have had a Polaroid of her that he pulls out. It's just like, Natalie, she can help you find your wife or whatever. And so he goes over to Natalie, and that's the reason why he, is talking to her or whatever. The scene before that one, before the scene where she is like helping him, gets to the talent agency. We're getting pretty close to the beginning of the movie here.
Right.
So we've got two scenes left, basically, if my math is correct. We've got the very the scene that is jump starting his quest, and then we've got the scene that it is caught up to where he and Teddy meet.
Right.
So what are going to happen in these two scenes?
I feel like we've got to have more with Natalie, because I want to really establish that they have this relationship that he can't remember, but she does.
Okay.
And maybe there can be a bit of a montage
maybe before
sequence where he moves into this apartment after the incident, and then he meets her, and then it's this montage of the next year, and he keeps meeting her, and she's always talking to him like she knows somebody he doesn't know, and they're hanging out, and he's in her apartment, they're watching movies together, they're laughing, they're playing Trivial Pursuit, I don't know, stuff like that. There's product placements, they're drinking Bud Lights, they're hanging out, having a good time. They're drinking Pepto-Bismol, how Adam Sandler do, and then
he likes commercials, just like in Memento, how Sammy Jenkins always liked the commercials because they were short. And so he's watching the commercials, and he's like, "That's my wife." He says, as they're watching commercial, and it's the X-Lax commercial, and Natalie looks up and she's like, "What? That's your wife?" or whatever. And then that's what makes her realize that later on in the movie she needs to hurry up and record it so that he can remember that the X-Lax commercial was his wife, and then the video or whatever, it's showing this commercial is being recorded right now. I don't know why they would play that on live TV, but that's that. This is the scene where the two of them hanging out together, she realizes that he's married to the X-Lax woman.
Here's the thing. Is that he sees this X-Lax commercial, and meanwhile Natalie's over in her kitchen preparing some dinner for the two of them, and he starts screaming "Oh my god, that's my wife!" And then she runs into the room, but the commercial ends, and she's like, what was the commercial for? And he's like, I don't remember. And so he's just not quite sure. And then she's like, well, do you remember what it was about? And he's like, something about pooping.
Yeah,
like,
and then it goes back into, he's just like, you see, I have this condition. All I can remember is that this raccoon knocked me off a slide, and that my wife needs to poop. And so he.
I want to get this out before I forget it. So instead of being like this commercial is being recorded right now, it could be like one of those live fundraiser events or like a live infomercial, and it's just like an hour-long thing of Jennifer Aniston being like, try new vanilla flavored X-Lax, and she's going into all these things and like telling the audience, and she's like, I'm here for the next hour giving you all the newest info on X-Lax products. And that's when Natalie sees it and she knows it's live, and she gets Leonard to come over and shows him, and he's like, oh my god, where are they filming this? And then that's when they find out and go to so like she drives him over there so that he won't like get distracted or lost.
Well, I mean, she has to. I mean, she has to ride. I mean, he's got the police cruiser, and that. I mean, that has to, stay there because
right.
Kevin James needs to also somehow make it here. Like there needs to be like everyone all coming together. Maybe Kevin James, comes to the same realization. Maybe he sees a billboard or something for her, like with the X-Lax, and he's like, "Holy shit, she's real," or whatever. He comes to that realization, and he heads over to the infomercial where that's filming. Natalie and
or like he's still in the foot chase with the bad guy, but then he like is running, he's like chasing the bad guy through a mall, and he stops at a TV display and sees her on the TV, and then like he decides not to keep chasing the bad guy because he's got to go help his friend and like let him know,
and he's got to go get his car back. All right, so quickly, let me give the first scene here. Of course, this scene has to have Jennifer Aniston in it, and it's like her being like, I can't deal with you with this condition anymore. You keep on trying to feed me X-Lax. I have an unlimited supply of X-Lax. I work for them. I have the commercial.
I am their spokesperson.
I have gotten my body right. I don't have to poop anymore. You need to stop giving me this. And he's just like, well, you see, I have this condition. And then he goes into it about the raccoon again. And I think that it would be actually pretty hilarious if every time that he described the condition, you get to see the exact same clip of him, like a very abridged version of him, like falling off the slide with the raccoon. And it's like the big raccoon's face or whatever. Like, I'm thinking that we need to see that multiple times, every single time that he records the clip. I think that'd be pretty funny.
And then by the end, the entire thing plays out in like a split second.
Yeah. So she walks out on him, but he doesn't remember it, and that's what leads him to go to Teddy to fill in the police report. That's what, Natalie moves in or whatever next door, and that's what, gets him talking to her about it. Everything comes together. Natalie and Adam Sandler drive to where the infomercial is taking place, and that takes us back to the very first scene that we talked about where he runs in there and he's just like, my wife, Jennifer, you're here, or whatever. Mm-hmm. And I'm thinking while this is taking place, Drew Barrymore's character, Natalie, she needs to realize like, oh, he's finally found his lost wife. He's going to be with her, and so woe is me. I'm going to get out of the police car. There's no point in me going there with him. I'm going to just walk off and be sad. So that this way, whenever the scene happens where Adam Sandler gets hit on the head and he remembers everything, and he remembers Natalie, he remembers that she's out in the car, so he runs out there. She's not there. Now he has to track her down and find her, and ultimately when he finds her, that's the end of the movie and the happy ending.
Right. So he finds her, and at the same time, Kevin James like finds them / his car, and he comes up, and well, before that happens, Leonard can approach Natalie, and she's like, it's a bittersweet feeling for her because she loves Leonard, but she knows that Leonard is finally going to meet who he thinks is his long lost wife, and they're going to reconcile and like be together. And she doesn't know about the whole X-Lax backstory or whatever, so she thinks they're going to get back together. And then he bursts out of the studio set and starts screaming, Natalie, Natalie, and she hears it and turns around, and he runs up to her, and he's like, I remember everything about us. And then she's like, what? And he's like, he starts listing off all the things that they did together, and she's like, but you remember all of that? And he's saying like, I remember that night where we sat down and we binge watched all of product placement TV show on Netflix. I remember when we ate an entire apple pie together, and then I forgot what your name was. I remember when you first moved into the apartment next door to me, and I told you about the accident. And she's like, oh, holy shit. And he's like, and the one thing that I remember most of all is that
Is
I
that
love you,
I
Natalie.
love you.
Yeah. And she's like, oh my God, Leonard, I love you too. I've always wanted to tell you that. And then
And then of course there's that like, the kitschy like uplifting music where they come in for the kiss.
Of course.
And then like
Kevin
of course,
James
the camera
shows up right there. And then right before they can kiss, Kevin James runs in and goes, my car! Because of course, Adam Sandler has accidentally run into like 4 things and now the car is destroyed. And then Leonard's like, haha, oh, Lenny. Oh, Teddy. Oh, Lenny.
Oh, Lenny. I'm going to refer to you as my own name.
Apparently his memory
Teddy,
has not gotten better.
And then he's like, in exchange...
like, oh, Teddy, you cop slob eating all your donuts. And Teddy's like, hey, what the hell? Wait, you remember who I am? And Leonard's like, I've gotten better. I got hit on the head and now I remember everything. Thanks for helping me, buddy. And Teddy's like, oh my God, this is amazing. You remember?
And then he farts.
Right.
And then the movie's over.
And then, yeah, something happens to scare Kevin James, and he does a scare fart, and then they all laugh as the sun sets, and the movie is over. Roll credits.
Hey, man, we did it, man. We did a backwards movie. It totally is Adam Sandler because of all the fart jokes and the,
of course,
product
the placements.
Raccoon. I feel like the raccoon needs to find love or something. Like the raccoon that was hunting down the pepperoni needs to finally get it at the very end or something like that in the background. It's not like a super noticeable thing, but it's like a thing that like, after 3 or 4 watchings of this movie, you'll realize in the background that the raccoon was there the whole time.
Well, here's the thing. All 3 of them, like, Kevin James farts and they all laugh, and then they're like, hey, how about we go get some pizza? And they go out and they go to a pizza restaurant, and as they're eating, Leonard looks outside and he sees the same raccoon sitting outside the window, like staring in at him eating the pizza. And
but he's not afraid anymore, and so he goes out and he gives the raccoon a slice of his pizza.
And the raccoon is like, for me? And he grabs the pizza and like runs off and jumps into a sewer grate and eats the pizza. And Adam Sandler is like, I done a good thing. The end. We know that he's conquered his fear. He's conquered his demons. Everything's
the only
good
thing
now.
that we did not really implement is enough of the tattoos. So
True.
The one tattoo that we've got, let's go ahead and kind of fill in this one missing element real quick, and then I think that we can wrap this up. But so we've got the tattoo of the raccoon. What are the other tattoos that Adam Sandler needs to have?
They've got to be dumb. There's got to be a tattoo of a Budweiser can. And that's like unrelated to the other tattoos. That's just a tattoo that he had when he got when he was like, he got it when he was like 21, and he just really fucking loved Budweiser.
He's got to have a tattoo of X-Lax,
of course,
because that's like the thing that like connects him to his wife. Let's see. Like,
what if he has a really bad tattoo of Jennifer Aniston, and that's what he shows people? Instead of a Polaroid, so like they don't know it's her because the tattoo is really bad.
Yeah. And
have you seen those tattoos that people get, and it's like their baby's face, but it's like mangled and disgusting looking? It's like super uncanny valley, and you just feel horrible that somebody got that permanently inked onto their body.
Yes. So we've got Jennifer Aniston's terrible, a very terrible version of Jennifer Aniston's face. We've got X-Lax, we've got Bud Light, and we've got a giant raccoon. Any other tattoos that we need to have before we wrap this up?
I'm trying to think of something.
Maybe like there's a point in the movie where he realizes that he's in love with Natalie, but he knows that he's going to forget it. So he wants to make sure that he gets a tattoo of something that's related to her. So he gets a tattoo of like, I don't know, the apple pie that they shared that one time or something like that, some sort of other product placement of the things that they shared together. Maybe Bud Light is something that they shared together.
That, or just like a little heart that says like, L+N or something. Yeah. And he doesn't quite know what that means. But like in the end, he remembers that he got that tattooed because of a great day that he shared with her that he actually wanted
right.
to
and it turns out that
commemorate.
she also had a tattoo and it said N+L. He's like, our tattoos, you do remember.
Have you ever seen the Tenacious D movie?
I haven't actually seen that. I've been dying. I've been needing to watch it. I just have never got around to it.
It's pretty funny. They realize that they're destined to be bandmates because one of them has a tattoo on his ass that says Tene, and the other one has one that says Shus D. So they put them together, and it says Tenacious D.
That's perfect. Something like that. It's like a half a heart that just says L on it, and then the other half is like hers that says N on it. And whenever they get together, it shows the two of them combined. And so, yeah, all right. I mean, we pretty sufficiently wrapped this movie up. If there's anything else that you feel like needs to be added into this movie to make it more like Memento, definitely leave that in the comments. Also, something that, clearly we couldn't, since we added Jennifer Aniston's character, we needed a name and we just couldn't come up with one. If you'd like for us to use your name, or if there is a name in general that you think is hilarious and we need to add it into a movie, let us know of that name and we'll make sure to add that in there. What else, Eric?
I think that's it. I think we wrap this up and we got a good Adam Sandler movie out of it.
Hey,
so,
man.
Thanks all of you guys for listening.
That's right. We appreciate it. Tune in next week, where if you're a fan of anime and a fan of the Maze Runner movies, then we will be doing a Maze Runner as an anime movie, so that should be pretty fun. Tune in next week to catch all that action. Like us, subscribe to us, share this with your friends. Thanks again for watching or listening.
That's right.
Or whatever you're doing.
Catch you guys on the flippity flip.